Hey everyone, this is ScrapComputer here. This video is going to cover a topic I get a lot, especially on my stream. Am I ready for ranked? And of course, what should I get before I actually go into ranked queue? This video is going to cover what I personally feel you should have before you even think about going into ranked and the effect I feel it will have. Now the reason I'm making this is because a lot of players I personally know have immediately went into ranked as soon as they get level 30 and they fell, well, more plummeted towards bronze. From here they're getting to bronze habits, they're versus worse opponents so they can barely improve, or more worried about winning in a ranked system than actually improving, which I feel normals are for, and of course they're getting flamed with a lackluster performance and they're getting, a lot of toxicity throwing at them, and this just isn't a learning environment. For example, in a normal game, it's a lot more relaxed, hence it's a far better place to actually learn and progress as a player. This is why I feel the video is so important. For your original start fundamentals of the game, I feel you should get these in normals, not in ranked. Ranked is for going further beyond this, and personally, I feel this is really, really important. So without further ado, let's get into this. Preparation list. Number 1, general rune pages. I feel you should have a rune page for the following, which I'll show below and a copy. General AD page, general AP page, general tank page. These three pages can literally be applied to any champion and or playstyle. If you want to go for Olaf, you can go for the general AD or the general tank. You want to play Zed, go for the AD. You want to AD carry, go for the AD. You want to support Soraka, go for the AP or the tank. You see where I'm going here. These three pages are applicable to every champion in the game. There is literally no champion that cannot be used to these. Of course they're not specialized, but they're going to give you a mass advantage and you'll always have an applicable rune page to a degree. And these are the three general pages I feel you should have before you actually begin. Now this will easily cost, around what, 30 or no, about 20 odd K of IP for both the pages and of course all of the runes. I know this is a lot, but more than worth it and massively increases your chance of winning drastically. Having those literal stat advantages is very important right now. Have a dedicated rune page for all general champions, give you an edge most players who are just immediately jumping into ranked would not have had. Number 2, custom masteries for each champion / role. Mastery pages are of course completely free. If you want to actually play ranked, you should have a special mastery page for each role 100%, and if you mean a champion, one for them as well if they don't fit in the general pages. This should be an easy thing to substantiate, and the thing is they're free, they take a bit of time to set up, and I see a lot of players immediately starting a ranked at level 30 and only having a couple of mastery pages. I feel if you want to start them, you should have bare minimum 10 customs, and mainly half of them being general orientated and the other half being for specialized certain champions that are maybe a bit oddball. Beyond that, this one should be very easy to fix. Number 3, a decent champion pool. A massive champion pool is actually not 100% required at all. It's just nice so you can swap out champions, for example, but ensure you do have at least an okay rota of champions. This depends on you and of course who you play. Just ensure you have at least 2 champions for each role and 5 to 6 in your main role to ensure flexibility in picks. This isn't a 100% number, just a general average. I would advise you have at least a couple of champions here. You can ignore this point if you just want to play 1 or 2 champions, but for the most part, try to at least a bare minimum have 1 champion in each role. Absolute bare minimum. I see people that have literally no support champions, and that's disgraceful. What happens if you're playing the support role? You're done for. And that's the thing, just make sure you've got at least 1 or 2 champions if you can, and 5 in the main. Number 4, basic knowledge of all roles. This is a bigger point than most would mention. You have to, I repeat, have to be able to play each role to at least an acceptable degree. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're the next mid lane faker, you're next level, no one's as good as you at the mid. This is solo queue. You will not always get your role. And at the end of the day, you don't always deserve your role. We've got to respect pick order like everyone else does, and sometimes someone else is going to have a higher precedence than you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to be able to fill the rest of the roles. You have to be able to top, you have to be able to jungle, a mid, AD carry, and of course even support for those players that are too good for the role, at least to a okay, solid enough degree where you're not going to do absolutely horrible. You know roughly what you're doing. Do not play ranked if you can't do at least all of these roles to an okay, moderate, just basic fundamental style. Even if you're a jungle and you only AFK farm on a Devour champion, for example, and only do a couple of ganks, you've got the fundamentals down, that's perfectly fine. At least have that down. Make sure you teach yourself at least 1 or 2 champions in each role and have them playing at an okay level. Don't just teach yourself one role. I have met people who have claimed they've never played support before, and for some reason we put them in the role and I actually believe them. I was actually with a player a couple of of games ago, and they had no idea how the support role worked, and that's just pretty poor. The thing is, basic knowledge of each role comes from more than this. It's not just that you can only play each individual role and not do it well. It's not just that if you get stuck in one of these roles, you would be absolutely screwed. It's not just that. It's also you have to understand and expand out in each role. Each role provides a certain knowledge base. If you know how to play support, you know how to counter a support. If you play a lot of mid, you know very well how to play mid. And I'm sure a lot of these players listening are going to say, you're right, I play a lot of top and I know how top works perfectly. Because I've played most of these champions, seen them in their matchups, and I know how it works. It's more than just having to ensure you can actually perform at a decent level each time. If you do not prepare, be just basically expectant of reported and being flamed generally, and you're going to cost your team and most importantly yourself the game due to lack of basic knowledge. Play every single role at least to an okay degree. Number 5, seen/played each champion once. I always say this on my stream, but you should at least try and play each champion once. I know this is difficult to do, so for this I also say to see each champion once, but during the progression of getting level 30, you should have seen the vast majority of champions, and most importantly during the free week while leveling up, and even if you're, even if you're just starting now, even if you are level 30 and you've been there for a while, try to play each champion once. If you've played a champion, you know how to defeat them. Think of your main, for example. Whatever champion you main, regardless of what it is, you know exactly how to beat them. Anytime I'm versus an Ezreal, I know literally everything they're going to do before they do it because I've played so much of the champion. I've played Gnar now, so now I know Gnar's limitations, his combos, what he wants to do, his power spikes, everything about him. It's really important to ensure you get the knowledge of the champion to defeat them, and that's really important. This will take you quite a long time, I understand that, but ensure you've at least seen each champion once. There's nothing worse in ranked than seeing a champion you've no clue of. Go through the champion list and even look for a quick overview if you haven't seen them at all and you haven't seen them on their free week. Just ensure you aren't caught with your pants down. I'm just after playing with someone who didn't have a clue who Zyra was. They literally did not know the champion Zyra and got to level 30. No joke, he got crapped on, not having a clue on what she could do, walking inside of her ultimate, not running over the plants, not stepping on the seeds, getting hit by every skill shot, not knowing her range, not knowing her power spike. The passive got him killed 3 or 4 times before I had to tell him what it done. Basically, you get the point. Try and play every champion once to increase your knowledge pool, to ensure you not get caught down, and also to give you counter reactions towards them. Number 6, have a main role. You should really have 1 or 2 main roles for the most part. This will allow you to play these 2 roles to a massive and very successful degree. Now, this of course is extremely subjective, and I didn't even want to mention this. We have 2 main types of players, jack of all trades and of course one-trick ponies. I personally am an advocate of a mix of having the 2 between the 2 roles and have 2 mostly mastered. This of course follows on from my previous point. You should have knowledge of all roles to some degree, but I personally feel you should have at least 1 or 2 main roles that you're the best at to give you the best chance of victory. Number 7, solo experience. This is only for the players who have only mainly played by their friends predominantly. I disadvise going into rank without at least having 100 solo games by yourself. A lot of players have only played with their friends and not in a solo environment. It's important to differentiate the two. Playing with friends is very different. Being able to rely on their performance and of course communication devices is a mass advantage, one in which you will not have in solo queue. You have to play around 100 games by yourself while training in solo play to ensure you can actually solo carry and know how to deal with solo scenarios. Number 8, 500 plus total games. This point is going to circumvent the rest. This generally will make the rest come into fruition. With these extra games, you shall obtain a lot more IP to get more champions and runes, and of course everything else I'm about to mention. Let's get into it. I noticed that the average time it takes to get level 30 is approximately 365 games for most players. So I feel an extra 130 odd games can help you out immensely in terms of knowledge and mechanics. To me, this is a straight up a bare minimum amount of games you should have. The amount of games it requires to get level 30 and the availability of rank queues is nowhere near enough for you to call yourself ready for ranked and a right queue for the vast majority of players, unless you're next level and God's gift to the game. This small amount of games is not nearly enough to teach yourself the entire game and all roles perfectly. To play each champion just once, which I totally recommend and we'll cover later, it currently takes in this time of this video's release, 127 games for 127 champions. Anything less than 500 games is just not enough. 127 games for the average time to get level 30, that's a third of your total games just playing each champion once. That's how much there is to learn. Anything less than 500 is just not enough if you want to do well and immediately get to gold or higher. Anything less than this and you'll only have a vague experience of each role and of course champion. I understand 300 games is a lot, but I always recommend grinding normals and getting yourself an extra couple of games to get to that 500 games total, which will really give you an extra oomph of experience and ensure you can play the game and you've got to a really good level of the game before you actually start going into ranked. You have to remember, ranked is a really tense scenario and it's very difficult to learn in tense scenarios. So I really advise these 500 games. I get a lot of players who will really hate on me for this one, but I honestly do believe it's the best way of teaching yourself the game appropriately. Extra note: get runes over champions. If you have to decide between 2 and 3 champions or a rune set, go for the rune set every single time. Runes are more valuable than a single champion. A proper rune set for a tank, for example, can be applied to all of your tank champions, all the support tanks, all the top lane tanks, all the mid lane. Even if you're versus the lane bull, you might want to go tank runes. Tank runes in general, or any set of runes, is a lot more valuable than having like 1 or 2 extra champions. 1 or 2 extra champions is great and all, it's fantastic, I get that, but the champions, you can't use all your champions at once, whereas you can use all of your runes at once. You can decide between each rune set each and every game, whereas you can't constantly play the same champion. That's why, in my opinion, you should always go for runes over champions, always. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you all understand this is just an approximation, just my personal opinion on what I felt is and what I've seen is to be most successful in terms of people starting in ranked and doing really well for themselves at the start. It's all about learning in a kind of calm, normal environment, and I personally feel that's the best. If you like it, dislike it, dislike it. If you like the video, of course you can subscribe, and if you hate it and think the content's garbage and it's Arthur's fault, guys, you can unsub. I am totally fair. Besides that, as always, guys, have an absolutely great day and best of luck in the Rift.